At that point, what I was clear on was when I was doing interviews about my adventure film Between the Peaks, and reporters would be like, they're talking to a 24-year-old kid or something, whatever I was then. And they're saying like, does it feel good to have gotten that out of your system? And that's how most people looked at the stuff that I was doing at that point. And I was like, no, this is not out of my system. This is my system. And so we're talking about systems here today, but like that at that moment in my life, I was like, this is my system. I need to build a life and a career around something that allows me to go to these wild places of the world and tell stories and create media. There's an interesting story that I want to unpack that maybe a lot of people don't know about just the early days of Design Pickle and of Trainual and how we have supported each other's growth from the start.
And you specifically.
I'm at the core of both of these. Yes.
Yeah.
But I think inside of those stories, there are interesting use cases and examples that make the case for exactly what you're talking about, why you need to really put emphasis on systems and processes, even if you are a creative, or why as a technical SOP writer, you need to think outside of the normal bounds of technical writing and find more creative ways to bring your training to life. And I think that our story together of building these companies is a beautiful thing to share and kind of illustrate that for people.
I love it.
Back in 2014, 2015, when you were just starting to, chase this idea and move out of the old agency, you were friends with my brother, have been best friends with him for forever. And at that time in my life, I was transitioning out of working inside of an agency and kind of going down my own path. I wasn't sure what my path was going to be. I just knew I was not going to continue working. Like that was a stopover because I needed a paycheck while I was editing my adventure film that I spent all my money on. And so once I had the film out and was ready to figure out what's next for me, my intention was to start an adventure media company and to be a sponsored athlete and a high altitude mountaineer and a speaker and to go tell brand stories and create content around the world. And I did end up doing that. But at that specific moment in time, I was needing to replace my income that I was getting in my paycheck at the agency. And you needed somebody who was good at creating content. And it was like that moment in time that Design Pickle was going to be more than just you and a designer and a project coordinator. And you were trying to figure out how to get the brand out there and build the marketing systems. So we connected and I started doing all the content marketing to help Design Pickle kind of get off the ground and run the newsletters and create the blogs and social, and did that for, I don't know, was it 6 months, 9 months or something?
Yeah.
But that was how we intersected at the start of Design Pickle before Trainual was really a thing.
Well, and it's this annoying thing called Trainual that kind of got in the way, because at the same time you started to do the same thing for Chris and the Trainual team and kind of working on that. And then there was a kind of a crossroad for you of okay, I need to pick a path. And I was like, hey, dude, come do this full time. Let's make this happen. And I don't think the choice at that point was to do Trainual.
At that point, what I was clear on was when I was doing interviews about my adventure film Between the Peaks, and reporters would be like, they're talking to a 24-year-old kid or something, whatever I was then. And they're saying does it feel good to have gotten that out of your system? And that's how most people looked at the stuff that I was doing at that point. And I was like, no, this is not out of my system. This is my system. And so we're talking about systems here today, but that at that moment in my life, I was like, this is my system. I need to build a life and a career around something that allows me to go to these wild places of the world and tell stories and create media. So Trainual was not anything more than a beta product inside my brother's consulting firm at that time. And there was no short-term foresight of spinning it out into a new SaaS company and everything that Chris and I did in 2018. At that point, it was you asking me to come full-time into Design Pickle to help you scale it, or me seeing I just came out of this full-time job that I didn't want. And now my vision is that I need to do this adventure thing. So as much as I love you, Russ, and as much as this is a fun thing I'm working on, if the choice is that I need to go full-time here, or we need to stop the retainer on the contractor thing because you need the full-time commitment, the choice for me at that point was I need to see what I can do on this adventure world. And that was what happened.
Well, we figured it out.
We did.
Still fun to play the alternate universe reality game of what could have been. But I think we all ended up, because eventually that ran its course. You and Chris went all in on Trainual, and today we have pretty much grown in lockstep. Same size, kind of pushing it.
So along the way, all the decision points worked out as they were meant to. For
exactly
the butterfly effect.
I think the things that we've loved about the journey, or at least that I've loved of, is that we found our lanes to be creative, but also run systems and do that in a way that while we have very different products and services that we sell, I know that our brands have thrived because we are creative in the way we solve problems, the way we communicate, and the way we market, but our businesses run, and your businesses help other businesses run on systems and on processes. And we've been a Trainual client. I think we were probably one of the first clients ever. And it was because we had the process and systems part of our business established almost before we really needed it. It's kind of crazy to think about 3 employees and you're documenting all the steps for something. But that's what I did from the beginning because I was around you guys. I saw it. I knew. I read books like E-Myth on the importance of it. And it allowed us to grow in a consistent way across not only like our employee growth, but how we deliver our services of creativity. And I think the converse is true for you. You guys have grown because you put a lot of creativity into the company that is all about systems and processes.
Absolutely. And like for us, we had the systems and process tool, but like as an early stage startup, for the first year and a half, like I wore every single hat in content and brand and marketing and whatever else. And so there was only a certain amount of stuff I could create with my camera and Photoshop, right? And so there was this like unfair advantage that we had in Design Pickle in that like I could amplify my creativity. And so I'd literally just take out like a blank sheet of paper and sketch out a design and then just like throw it out into the ether of jar. And it would, we'd work with our designer and my vision would be brought to life in a way that was like faster and better than I could at the time while I was focusing on other things. So I think like it helped fuel and amplify the creative engine that built our brand.
Right. Some people have the ability to use the tools and to communicate in a way, but ultimately everyone and every business can do better with creativity. And we'll come back to processes and systems. And so if that skill isn't innate in you, what's the team you're building around you to pull it out and to bring those ideas to life? Because as consumers, we're inundated with highly creative brands and products and ads, and we're trained to respond that way. And if as a business, you're not communicating in a way that is creative, you're literally going against what people are used to in just about every area of their life as they're making purchasing decisions. I think the key to creativity is a process to review and improve until you're at that place in which the product or the creativity is complete. And for me, that is the most important way to be creative, is to give yourself and to create a system to create, to review, to edit, to create again, to review, to edit, and to create again and review and edit. That is creativity in itself. It's not just about one moment of lightning bolt inspiration and you have the final product. And so I think when people look at really good creatives and really good creative products and brands, what they don't see and don't realize is that there's actually an incredible amount of effort that goes into the system of review and updates and improvement to get to that final product.
Yeah.
And that to me is the best hack for being a really great creative, is to have a system and a timeline, which is another issue altogether, to go through that. And every creative project that's gone sideways is because of either they skip that or there's not enough documentation or process to get to that final product. And people put too much pressure on themselves to get something done in a short amount of time. And selfishly, Trainual helped us create those systems for our own company that our clients use. When a design is delivered, what's the next step? How do we manage feedback? What are the expectations of turnaround time? All of that runs automatically with Design Pickle, but it's actually running off of a system that we created that's documented in Trainual. And so that for me is, I think, like, it's less about the raw talent and more about how defined is your process to get to the final product through the review and edit.
I think about my role, CMO, CRO, I'm leading reputation and revenue. And the way that you build brand is what affects what you're known for in the market. That's your reputation. The way you serve your customers, that affects your reputation as well. You want to create those advocates. The way that you show up on all the platforms where all the attention is, people are on these things. Like, you got to know where people are spending their time. And if you show up with crap creative, they're not coming your way. And so when I think about acquisition, it is fueled by creative. That is the variable that catches people's attention, that breaks through the noise. And then similarly, when you think about internal engagement and how to keep your employees happy, you have to do it in creative ways. And you have to like have creativity infused across your organization. And so the two sides of creativity and then how you unlock it and create momentum around it is good systems and processes and clarity on the teams that need to support it.
Love it. Yeah, this has been super solid, man. I think at the end of the day, it's like the best creativity that I've ever seen has come from a really great process and system. And that's what I always keep in mind. If I really want to be breaking through the noise, I want to be pushing those campaigns or standing out or problem solving creatively. You know, we've been talking a lot about visuals and ads, but like solving problems itself don't just come in an inspirational aha moment. There's systems, there's processes, there's editing, there's feedback, there's iterations, there's brainstorming, and all of that is process and systems. So, you know, I think there's a nice little marriage here that we should continue to explore as we head into 2025.
For almost 7 years now, or since Trainual has been really around, but even prior to that, I know we have kept this little secret, I think, for too long. So here we go.